I'd like to bring to order the board meeting for the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd, and we are at the Akron Urban League. Welcome to everyone. Do I have any elected officials here with us today that are not normally present? Okay, then with that, if we can go around the room and introduce ourselves, starting with Lucy.
I'm Lucy Miller. I'm with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Connie Krause, Director of Community and Economic Development for Summit County.
Angie Byington on behalf of Mayor Holly Brenda, City of Elyria.
Emily Campbell from the Center for Community Solutions.
Janice Schweitzer, Ashtabula County.
Ron Shortis, Center for Urban Regional Studies at YSU.
Bill Davignon, City of Youngstown.
John Gentry with East Cape Regional Council of Government.
Bob Now, Stark County Regional Plan.
Antoine Bowie, NEOSCC.
Grace Galucci with NOACA.
Ed Juris, Director of Regional Collaboration for Cuyahoga County.
I'm Donna Scota with Summit County Public Health.
Joe Hadley with NEFCO.
Jason Segedy, Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study.
Mike Lyons, Regional Prosperity Initiative.
Fred Wright, Akron Urban League.
David Beach, the Green City Blue Lake Institute at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History.
Larry Davis, CMHA.
Okay, great. Do we have any public comment today? No one signed in? Okay. And do we have a quorum for action? We do? Okay. Then I would like a motion for the approval of the minutes from September 24th. So I've got a move from Mike Lyons and a second from Emily Campbell. Thank you. All those in favor? Oh, wait. Joe Hadley's got comments.
Madam Chair, on the second page, under new business, it refers to Secretary Steve Donovan. I think that should be Sean Donovan. Just would offer that correction.
So this morning, earlier at the executive committee meeting, he had a different last name. Now he's got a different first name.
It's the holistic.
Okay. Anything else?
You look the same to the bad.
Section 16. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, and I'm told actually we only have 16 members, so we're going to have to hold off on that approval anyway. So we don't have a quorum. So if we can move right into discussion, and the objective for November and the November watch list. Hunter?
Yep. You have in your packet material on this, but let me just take you through it. Good afternoon. The first thing I want to review with you, and that's in your packet, is the timeline coming forward between now and December, the next 3 months. As you know, we had the public vision sessions between the 7th and the 17th. We had 10 of those across Northeast Ohio. We started last week with one of the 9 caucuses, which are basically groupings of individuals and organizations around the themes of the draft plan. The first one was transportation and transit, and the second one dealt with parks and trails. And we brought together both board members and affiliated organizations to really drill down on the recommendations. The third part of that is today's board review, and in the interest of time, we'll leave the description of that for a minute. But the idea is to take the draft plan and run it through its paces, particularly with groups and organizations that have a stake in the recommendations that we're making. We will be coming back to the board in November, the November 19th board meeting, with a revised vision, and seek in the December meeting that the vision, framework, and products will be presented, and that an approval will be achieved to go forward to your organizations to get a final vote, and we're thinking that February is the time to do that. We have a specific timeline to, again, don't want to belabor this, but it's important to understand the sequence of events here. Today we're doing a discussion and exercise immediately following this meeting on the overall recommendations and initiatives. We'd like you today to submit any changes that you come up with or see need to be made. That is to the language on note cards, but also by the end of the month to communicate with Jeff Anderley. In October, there are going to be another 7 caucus meetings. We would invite you to attend those. Those will all be up in Cleveland at the offices of Cobalt, where we can have a lot of wall space and put all this up, and you can see what all the different caucuses are saying. We are also going to be reviewing the draft vision document, which we sent to you last week, and again, ask your comments go to Jeff by the end of the month. We're going to be talking with you individually relative to your organizations and the requirements that you have to achieve approval, final approval, whether it's presenting to boards of county commissioners or MPO tax and board members, or going before I think Bill, a new mayor, to know that you've got the authorization, if you need it, to vote on the final work product of this organization, of this phase of our work. Just December 17th, again, we would like to vote to release the vision and products for presentation. We're bringing the vision work, which is basically done by the Sasaki team with the PMO staff, and the product work, which is being done principally by the project management office and working groups together at the December meeting. You should know that they are being cross-tabbed as we speak to make sure that the recommendations that Sasaki's making reflect the findings of these groups. And again, we're suggesting that in February, the February 14th of 2014, we'll be asking for final approval. We may refine that based on our discussions, but we think it's necessary to make sure that those bodies that don't meet monthly, and if you need their approval, you've got time to do that, but we're going to adjust that final approval to meet your needs going forward. Any questions on the sequencing? Again, the November objectives, which you have in the green sheet. In terms of the scenario planning, we're in the revision of the regional report and continuing working on the final. The AI and FHEA, the long-awaited mega document, is now available on the website, and the findings of that are being incorporated within the recommendations, and it's been a valuable cross-tabbing. We're continuing to refine the products and work with our working groups on that as communities of practice that have helped us formulate the recommendations, and hopefully will continue afterwards to see to their implementation. Communications and engagement. We're documenting the vision sessions. We'll be doing an FAQ out in the coming weeks. Caucus meeting documentation is being done simultaneously or in real time, and recommendations are being made to Sasaki based on that. And we're preparing for formal MPO COG presentations after the first of the year. And you have a list of the presentations we're going to be making going forward, and the offer stands that if you want us to come and present to your commission, to your membership, to an organization like the Akron APA, we'd be glad to do it. We now have material to do that. This is again on the November watch list. We have a separate session in Elyria on the 23rd this week to deal with elected officials who could not attend the Elyria meeting because of conflicts with city council meetings. And then you have the list of the remaining caucus meetings on the environment, quality connected places, which is really placemaking, and a lot of the material that we gathered in that work stream got incorporated. Then economic development from a couple of different perspectives, housing and communities, bringing in particularly the entitlement communities and housing authorities in one, and then the development community, private development community in a second one. And again, the AI and the FHE are online. So the final piece is the communications and engagement report. And I don't know if do you want to make this? I'll go. Okay. Here's where we stand on the most recent vision sessions. We had good attendance at all of them. Some high attendance at several. About 436 members overall. That adds to the groupings on the other two meetings. And then again, the session reporting is taking place in a couple of different tranches, the 24th and the 31st and the 6th, trying to get the keypad polling results out and publishing both aggregate and by location. There was request, particularly one of our meetings, to make sure that people could see themselves in it. So there are differences between the meetings, obviously, and there always have been, and we'll be able to report all 10 locations in the region. And then questions and comments will be posted on the 31st, and then we will be distributing answers by website, and also there are some people that asked to be notified of that by email. These are the caucuses coming forward. Environment policy, QC policy, and QCP places, several on economic development, 2 on housing, and again, all of these are at 1814 East 40th Street in Cleveland. This is the offices of Cobalt, and Patty can talk further about that when we break up. Any questions on this at this point? I want to personally thank all the board members who attended and participated and sent their staff. It was particularly important this go-round, where the work of setting this up was entirely on the project management office. We divided the work of engagement into the consultant team handling the caucuses and that piece of work, and the staff and in-kind handling the 10 meetings around the region. So again, my personal thanks on behalf of all our staff for your ability to help us get sites, staff the meetings, and attend. And I think we had a good turnout again, as we've had in the past at our sessions. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the executive committee update, and actually I had to miss most of the executive committee due to a conflict, so Jason very kindly substituted for me, so I would like to ask Jason to provide that update.
Yeah, I can just give a quick update. We talked, probably the most substantive discussion we had was on the need to kind of take the recommendations that NEOSCC had presented at the rollout meetings that we just had in the various counties, and there's going to be an exercise later on the agenda at this meeting, I think, to get everyone here engaged at looking at a first stab at prioritizing and kind of weighing in on the applicability of each of those recommendations. So I think that was really the most substantive discussion that we had, and looking forward to doing that a little later on the agenda.
Was there an update that we can provide on the Fund for Economic Future match grant status, or the HUD grant extension?
Hunter, do you want to address that a little bit? Hunter gave us a kind of a presentation on where that stood.
Yeah, just briefly on the HUD extension, we worked before the federal government shut down with Steve Cerny on a draft extension letter, and we believe answered most, if not all, of his questions, and we're able to get the formal request in before the place shut down. I was in D.C. that day, actually, and did have an offline conversation with him. But the important thing is that when I called him on Thursday this last week, when the doors opened up again at 10 o'clock, he had it on the top of the pile. And I believe, and he took action. He's started taking action on it. It is about a 6 to 8 week process. But our hope is that because we worked closely with him on crafting the request, that the questions he needs answered have been answered. So, Lucy, any further thoughts on that?
Steve and I spoke yesterday, and he's reviewing it positively. We anticipate it'll be approved.
And Steve has been very closely involved in our work, and will be in town next week as well. So I think he knows probably better than a lot of other grantees exactly where we are.
Hunter, if it's not granted, what's our drop dead date?
Well, if it's not granted, we can expend money. We can't encumber funds until after December 31st. We can continue to spend funds that revolve around closeout of activities by the end of January. One of the reasons we are so insistent upon getting the actual plan done by December is so that we will be substantially complete with the HUD-funded work by the middle to the end of the month. Well, the middle of the month, but with your action, and then if we have to move into a close down mode, we can do that. We would probably want to advance the final review to take place in January, so that as part of closeout, we're getting final approval. All the staff was hired with the understanding that the funding for this project formally ends December 31st, and hopefully we can continue, but they're all aware of that. So we will be in substantial compliance within the grant term if we don't get the extension. If we do get the extension, that'll allow us more time to really work on taking these ideas forward, but we will have the work done by then, the consultant contract completed by then.
And if we do get the extension, about how much money over what period of time? What do we have to work with?
We will have, Emma, what's the...
At this point, the forecast of HUD available after January 1 is just under $200,000.
So a couple $100,000 that might carry us another couple of months then.
Perhaps a quarter, depending on our activity.
Yeah, the continuity beyond the first quarter depends in part on whether Fund for Our Economic Future monies become available that have been pledged. But if push comes to shove, we will go as long as the money lasts and close down. Or, as Emma has pointed out at the executive committee, there's no reason why an organization that's a nonprofit can't seek to get other grants and move forward in a different dimension. But we've been so focused on getting the work done that we really have not even thought about grant writing from other sources. On the Fund for Our Economic Future, we made a request in September for the $283,000 that is part of the unreleased portion of the $500,000 pledged grant from the fund. We received back an indication that they wanted further detail and were concerned with whether our requests met the charitable purpose. In the interest of time, I won't go into great detail, but what we're proposing to come back to them with is a specific breakdown of items that can be expensed between now and February 1st. We also asked for an extension of the grant, their grant, from February 1st to be coterminous with the federal extension of the end of June. We're told that while they could make that extension, they did not see the value in doing that. So we are coming forward with a set of 5 specific elements. One being to pick up a portion of the supplemental project management costs that we put onto the Sasaki contract and meet the desire that we have greater management capacity, particularly to deal with the products that came out of the work last summer, or in 2012, to deal with the dashboard, the toolkit, the policies, and the pilots. We are also asking for additional funding to undertake engagement and communication work, particularly a third survey, statistical survey, particularly to make sure that we are going back to the public broadly to see if to gauge public opinion on some of the recommendations, and to create another lead-in video that might accompany any of us doing speaking. We've done 3 lead-in videos for the workshops, and it's proven very, very effective. We're also asking for them to pick up costs entailed with the Futures Committee. As you know, the career work was expensed to the fund, because it's essentially a local piece of work. And finally, the fund has expressed interest, and we fully appreciate that, to be able to turn the data GIS work that we're doing that we've created for doing the scenario planning into an online accessible tool. We received some preliminary estimates from Sasaki about what that would take. We were engaged with Mark Salling and CSU in a robust effort to understand where our piece of work per our data sets fit with the other data sets like NeoRio and Team Neo and the fund, so that we can come back and say, here's how this might happen, and whether it rests at NOACA or with an ongoing NEOSCC, here's how we might create that tool, which the fund has expressed interest in the beginning. So and finally, HUD non-eligible expenses such as food and other things. So together, we're coming back to them with a specific package of $283,000, all of which could be expended by their funding deadline. And we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you for that update. The next item is the Futures Committee update. And I think the objective was to bring it up for one last discussion this month, with then the true objective being adoption in November and then implementation. So I would like to bring it forth for any further discussion. Over the last few months, we have had the consultants review the details with, I believe, the full board as well as the executive committee. And I do want to thank the Futures Committee for all of their work. I think that the outcome that has been produced is terrific. I think it really gives us an opportunity to ensure the future sustainability of this organization. Do we have any questions or comments on what was presented either last month or the details that have been sent forth since? I think one of the issues that we had last month was that we were not sure that there was full either continuity or comprehensiveness of the mission, making sure that it aligned with what Sasaki was doing. And since that time, I know the consultants sent that around, the document around, sent the materials around. I know some folks commented, and I believe the final draft was sent out. So if there are any further comments or any further discussion on that, we would be happy to entertain that today. Otherwise, I would like to put it on the agenda for next month for approval.
Chris?
Yes.
Any further thought or input on funding for the Futures Committee? I know there was a framework established, an intent to go to different pots of money.
Correct.
Anything beyond that?
No, there's nothing beyond that. So the structure that was proposed by the consultant and the Futures Committee had a relatively diverse source of funding, so that way, obviously, if one thing doesn't work out, something else will, or it's a little bit of a balance. But at this point, we can't even go out, I believe, to seek additional grants until we really approve the future organization. And that would be probably one of the biggest sources that we would try to put in place.
Mr. Lyons?
I'm trying to, we have an outline in our materials that refers to the Futures Committee. It has a chart associated with it. And I'm trying to think back about the presentation that was made. And I'm thinking of there's a kind of an outline of purpose, intent. This outline shows the assist, assemble and engage, and advocate as the general themes. I'm trying to recall whether there's any specific recommendation regarding staffing in what was presented, and I'm just not sure the relationship between the general statement of purpose and specific. I think part of it is to formulate an action plan. That's we don't have an action plan. Part of it is to continue the existence of NEOSCC, to formulate that.
Right. So what does exist is a proposal for a staffing structure beyond the existing one. What does not exist is a transition plan between the two organizations. So that way we don't have addressed what would happen to the existing staff, although there is some continuity available. So yes, we don't have that zipped up until we have the future organization committed to.
Okay, so then I'm trying to hone in on the nature of what we would be approving. And
hold on just one quick second. Do we have by any chance that presentation that we could put up? So let them, because that might be helpful to put a couple of the charts up.
And I don't know whether I'm, I just want to be sure that we're.
So what we would be approving, and we'll be careful to make sure that it is very clear in the documentation that is sent out for the next meeting, would be the purpose as well as the potential funding and potential staffing structure.
Okay. All right, that sounds good, and that's what I'm after, is kind of a layout of to be sure. If I don't think it would be good. It wouldn't be good for me, just speaking for myself, to be making reference to what was presented last month for approval, and you've answered that. So I think we need to really hone in on what it is we would be approving and make sure that everybody's clear on that.
Yeah, so basically the documents that the consultants revised and sent out would be what we would be adopting. However, recognizing that that document is more of a PowerPoint format, we would ask for some clarity to explain exactly what that means in terms of adoption.
From our
Bob?
standpoint, it's important to that be reflected that it's not, there's some specific numbers in there in terms of funding commitments.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not in a position to make some of those commitments as far as county and MPO.
Correct.
Level. So
right.
I just want it very clear that
those are goals and
there's
targets.
Goals, but there's no type of commitments being put forth at this point.
That is true.
We can't do that.
That is correct. This would simply be a plan. Once the plan is adopted, then we would look in terms of funding to see if the proposal works and if we could actually get that funding, or if there has to be something else put into place. But again, we'll make that clear in the documents that go out. Jason?
I'll just reiterate, sorry for those of you that are with the executive committee, but to reiterate what I said there, I think the exercise we're going to go through later on the agenda about honing what some of these strategic priorities are, I think is very important. Just from my own standpoint, I think it's a lot more important for the futures discussion to get clear on, and I think Strategy Design Partners has done a good job with the futures committee of the three-tiered approach of assemble and engage and data and then the advocacy work, but to get clearer on that and then once we decide with a conceptual framework of what would NEOSCC do, I think it's more productive then to have the conversation about funding or board composition or staffing, because that way we can design the organization version 2.0 around the work that we would be doing.
One of the things, Madam Chair, that we discussed at the Executive Committee, and Jeff and I just talked, and we'll send it out to the rest of the board, is a memo from Strategy Design where we take the first stab at integrating the recommendations on organization with the policy recommendations coming out of the plan. So how does a specific policy recommendation relate to advocacy or advising or assembling? And it's very much a draft, and it's based on the very first draft of the plan. But you'll find in that a matrix, which again it'll be available electronically, where the Sasaki recommendations are put into the categories that we've identified of the future activities as a way of beginning to tease those relationships out. And it might be helpful as we think together about the future to use something like that or to modify that as a way of bringing the two together.
Just a thought, and it's not essential, but maybe we should, it might be good to consider writing up a resolution for that, perhaps with an attachment that provides some of these clarifications that we're talking about, so that we aren't, when a motion is made, we aren't simply making reference to a PowerPoint or, so that might be helpful, and to have that in advance.
Yes.
Very good point.
Can I suggest that we send out both this PowerPoint and the memo from David tomorrow, and then craft that resolution language to send out to the board?
We will do that.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? Then moving on to the next item for information, standing committee reports. Anything that needs to be brought specifically to the attention of the board?
No, the items on the caucus schedule and the sessions, I think we basically covered.
Okay. Under organization?
We covered the HUD grant, and the others are in attachments.
Okay, terrific. Under old business?
That question of Secretary Donovan's potential visit in November is very much up in the air.
I was requested for an issues paper.
What?
I submitted an issues paper to headquarters last Friday, but I don't know anything more. Okay. The fact that they even asked for one.
And the potential date of that, did we have something?
November 12th.
November 12th. Any new business? Now, my understanding is correct, we're going to adjourn.
Yes.
And then we are going to have...
We're going to adjourn and have a work session. It's not a public meeting. We will not take public minutes of this. It is an opportunity for us to look at the products and give feedback that will be incorporated within the work. And Jeff, do you want to explain? Well, first of all, I think you need to adjourn your meeting.
Okay, so then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned?